What's going on? This is Ryan with Automatic Comics, and up next, got a pretty awesome unboxing here. Got a couple slabs, some raw books. We're going to talk about the grading of those books a little bit. And one of these, I would call it, I don't know if you'd call it a pre-code horror grail, but at least one of the major pre-code horror keys. So some really cool stuff to go over. Let's check out these books. Right, so before we get started, please remember to hit that like button and hit the subscribe button if you'd like to see more content like this. So like I said, I've got a bunch of books here. One of the boxes I had already opened because it had some raw books in it, and with raw books there tends to be a little bit of a quick review time that's required, so I need to check those out quickly to make sure that there isn't something wrong with them, and so I can reach out to the seller. So those ones were open, but then I also have this box here that I still need to open. There's a really cool book in here as well. So we've got a total of, let's see, it looks like 7 books, 3 slabs, 4 raw books. Go over the slabs, then we're also going to talk about the grading, like I said, on the raw books. So let's get into these. Let's get into this box first. Let's check out this one. If you follow me on Instagram, you saw, or you may have seen, when I posted about winning this book. So one of the things that really caught my attention with this book was that I had never seen it come up for sale before. And so I have been watching a lot of different auctions for quite a few years now. I got back into comics seriously, buying and selling again, about early 2019. So it's been about 5 years, 4.5, 5 years. And I've watched every single weekly and generally all the signature heritage auctions, a bunch of the Comic Link, Comic Connect, everything. And at least in my memory, I had not seen this book ever come up for sale. I had seen, it's from a 3-issue run. I had seen issue 1 come up for sale. I had also, I think issue 3 had come up one time before, but also that one is very rare as well. But issue 1 I've seen a few times, maybe 2 or 3 in the last 5 years. This one I had never seen, and so out of every book in that auction, this one caught my attention, and I was happy to win it. And I feel like I got it for a great price, because I'll tell you what I paid for it, and then tell you what I think this book is actually worth, what I would need to get to let it go. So it's a great presenting copy. It is a low grade copy, but what this is Superworld Comics #2. This is a very early sci-fi cover. You can see here, this is from 1940, from May of 1940. It is a 1/0, it is brittle pages, but it is a very solid presenting 1/0. The reason is, I believe it's most of the pages are split on the interior along the spine. I don't even think the cover was completely split, but the pages were almost all split. So it got a 1/0, but I mean, it's as good of a presenting 1/0 that you can hope for. I also think just because it's a sci-fi cover, this star stamp is actually pretty cool on there. And then there's, the back cover too, so you can see it's not like it was missing any massive pieces or anything like that. It's just, the brittleness is what hurts it, and then the splitting on the interior is what hurts it. But this is a book that you do not see come up for sale. This one has 15 universals on census, 21 total. That number can be very misleading because this book just does not come up for sale. The last public sale before this one was 6 years ago. It was in 2017. With issue number 3, the prior public sale was, I think, 2020, but there then was one in July as well. So there was a recent one, but like 2 sales in the last 3 years. Issue number 1, I think there have been, like I said, 2 or 3 sales in the last couple of years. But a really early imagination of space travel. And I feel like this one actually kind of got it relatively close. They're wearing like full body suits. They've got like the packs on their back. They've got effectively some type of like globe on their head. When you look at, say Planet Comics, for example, a lot of times they're wearing shorts. They're wearing all kinds of weird stuff. Like I'll throw up a picture of Planet Comics 1 over here, and you can kind of see what type of stuff they have them in that, which came out around the same time period. So I just felt like this one's cool because it gets around that. It's really not too far off with the design. The colors are, they're not generally using those unless you've got Guardians of the Galaxy, like the colors they had on their suits. But the other thing that was interesting with this is actually an 8 on the Gerber scale. If you're not familiar with the Gerber Scarcity Index, I've talked about it some in the past. I've got the, got them around here somewhere. I've got the books right here. These are these Gerber photojournal books. So if you are interested in Golden Age at all, I highly recommend picking these up. This one is A through J, and then this one here covers K through Z. You kind of need both of them because the A through J has a lot of the introduction and talks about the scarcity index, all of that, and it has, you know, obviously A through J, and then this one focuses a lot more just on these books that are in here. And if you haven't seen the interiors, I'll actually show it, but it's just basically pictures of every single, for the most part, not everyone, but for the most part, every single Golden Age book. And it has approximate scarcities based on when this book was created. So at the time, they would go around and they were basically trying to find pictures of all these books, good examples of all these books, and they got a very good idea about the rarity of these books out there. And an 8, at least at the time, for them meant approximately, I think it was 11 to 20 copies were known to exist. And so, like I said, on the universal census, there's 15. The total is 21, so it's probably somewhere around there. I generally use it as a gauge compared to other books now. So an 8 is extremely rare. I think I've only owned one other 8 ever. I don't know if I've owned a 9. The 9 is like 5 to 10 or something like that. There's the very low counts of those books that are out there. But I'll show you in this book. I marked it so you can see how this works. So you can see here, there's the comics. There's issue 1, where my finger is right here. You got that kind of like monster on the cover. Then you've got issue 2, that's the one I have, and then issue 3. And then they have this table that's up there, and it says Superworld Comics, and then it has the dates and the cover artist, and then it has that number there. Let's see if I can, right here, where you can see it, the issue 1 is a 7, issue 2 is an 8, issue 3 is a 7. Which means that, at least from their experience when they were looking for these books, issue 2 was a little bit harder to find than issue 1. A 7 is also very high on that index, but yeah, issue 2 seems to be the hardest one. So yeah, I just thought when I saw this one come up for sale, I was really surprised. So I paid I think $720 plus shipping and tax and all that. And I'm telling you, I wouldn't let this book go for less than probably $1,500. And I could tell when I was bidding on it, there were other people that were struggling as well with how to price it, because it's not an easy book to price because it doesn't sell. And so you kind of have to look at what issue 1 goes for, what issue 3 has gone for with that one recent sale, and try to guesstimate based on that and the cover art and all that. So that's approximately what I would value the book at, and it's such a rare book. I just know that the likelihood of coming across another is pretty low. I mean, for me, I hadn't seen one in the last 4.5 or 5 years, and one had not come up for sale in over 6 years. So that's the first book here. All right, so now let's move on to the other 2 graded books, and we'll talk about the raw books. First one, there are a few issues out there that are done in this style by this cover artist, and I may end up butchering their name. The cover artist was William Ekgren, and so this is Strange Terrors number 4. And you'll see I think there's maybe 3 or 4 different covers that are out there. They're in different titles, and they all have this style where it's like all these little lines basically making up the cover art. It is a really unique, really cool style. And I've tried to bid on a couple of them over the years, and I just haven't been able to get one. I got this one. This is a really nice copy, though. It's a 6.0. It is a white pages copy, and I just think the really unique cover art, the way that this style was done, is it just really draws you in. So I just thought this one was really interesting to pick up. So I thought that was a cool book to pick up, cool book to show, just because you don't see them very often. Now the other slab here, this is the one that I would call one of the pre-code horror grails or major pre-code horror keys. And so for that, I'm talking about the really violent covers. I've only ever had one that I would classify as that really violent cover, and that would be the Crime Suspense Stories number 22. That one I'd put into that arena. Then you've got ones like Black Cat number 50, it's like Tomb of Terror 15, and among others. And this is one of those. This is Weird Mysteries #5. And it's a 2.0, it is a lower grade copy. It's missing a little piece on the corner here, but it's down in a spot that it doesn't really impact the main cover art. And you can see, like, it's just, I mean, it is just a gruesome cover. I mean, you could call it maybe like a Frankenstein type cover where this guy's like, seems like he's putting a brain into this, you know, monster, but just a really, really gross, violent cover done by Bernard Bailey. He did quite a few covers that would fall into this category that are just especially gruesome, and this is one of them. And so, and I've always liked the like the trade dress, you call it, for Weird Mysteries. I just think that this, like the way the colors are done and everything, look really cool. This one has a few stamps on it from the store that this was at. I think it was called like Cheap Books or something. Yeah, four cheap reads. And so it was, you know, maybe it was cheap at some point, but this is not cheap anymore. This is a very, very expensive book. It is one of those big pre-code horror keys or grails, whatever you want to call it, for the especially violent covers. And it's from 1953. Generally, that's what you'll see. The really, really violent covers were 1953 and 1954, right before the Comics Code Authority went into effect. All right. So now we've got some raw books here. Like I said, we'll talk about the grading a bit on these too, because I've got my, I took a look at these when I got them, and I've got my approximate grade estimates. First one, this is a really fun, I would call it like class of covers, of pre-code horror covers, and you call them like the skeleton wedding covers. And there are a few of them out there. Like, it's definitely something you could go out and collect if that's what you wanted to collect. And this is Fantastic Fears #4. This is also one you don't see pop up for sale very often, and you can see here what I'm talking about. You've got this, you know, the skeleton wedding cover or marriage cover, and there are, like I said, there are enough of these out there that if that's what you wanted to collect, you could collect this genre of cover. And this one was sold as a 4.5, and I think it's a 4.5. That is what I graded it as well. And, you know, we'll take a look at it and just kind of go over the flaws a little bit and what I think about it. I mean, it's actually a pretty solid presenting copy. You can see it's got nice cover gloss and all of that, but there are definitely some flaws to it, most of them being along the spine. And so if we get in close here, it is fully attached, but you can see there is definitely some wear going up along the spine. And with wear like that, I have seen books that will get upwards of a 5, maybe a 5.5, but I think more like a 5. But there's just enough other little things going on this cover. Like there's you can see there's a small tear right there, and just a little bit of cover, like edge wear, but the top edge is really nice. It's this edge over here has the wear to it. Bottom edge is relatively decent, and I think the back cover is just, looks like it could just use a little bit of cleaning. You know, that's not staining or anything, it's just some dirt on it. Could use some cleaning, but overall it would end up being a pretty nice looking book. Now the interior, the pages are really nice. I always struggle with that a little bit. I don't think it gets white pages. I think it's probably off-white to white, worst case off-white. You can see here, you know, really nice page quality on this one as well. So that's Fantastic Fears #4. And it's kind of annoying that they don't put the issue number on it, so you gotta, you know, always check the indicia to be sure. But overall, a solid presenting copy of this book. Main things are that spine wear. There's a little bit of like, it's like on the interior, some tape residue, and so it's like something was maybe there at some point, and so that maybe will hit it a little bit. But that's why I have it as, I think, a 4.5, because I think the top end, if it was just the spine, would be around a 5, and then I'm just knocking it down a little bit more because it has that tear on the edge. So I think a 4.5 is a pretty reasonable estimate for this one. So it's Fantastic Fears #4. And the next one, I think this is issue 52. I'll have to check the indicia just to be certain. But again, another one where they don't put the issue number on the cover. This is Wanted #52. And this is a pretty well-known crime cover. It's just this, you know, this mugging cover. It's the woman in the red dress getting mugged by this guy in the cover. And this one was sold as a 4.0, and I have it as a 4 to a 4.5. I think it actually might do a little bit better than that 4.0. It's, again, it's a nice glossy cover. It's the main thing, I believe, on this one. There's a little bit of staining and some spine wear. So here again, you can see, like, it's a nice looking copy. You've got this wear up in the corner there. There's a tiny piece missing and just like a crunch up in that corner. And if you go down here, you need to look in the, need to get the light reflecting right here. There we go. All right, so there's that kind of like a stain right there. But overall, I mean, for the solid black cover, a lot of solid colors. I mean, there's some, when I'm grading it what I think it'll do after pressing. And things like that will actually press out pretty well. There's definitely some wrinkles and bends on the cover, but a lot of that will press out pretty well. And then the back cover was similar. There's some flaws to it. You can see, it's always hard in the white, but you can see some bends and things on the cover. But that type of thing will press out and will clean up pretty well. Like down in that corner there were some bends, but I think some of them are color breaking, some of them aren't. But I think a 4 to a 4.5 is a very reasonable grade for this book, because it is I mean, it's a solid presenting copy. There's just some slightly major flaws, and so that's what's really knocking it down. I mean, this corner is definitely a big one, and then that stain that I showed down here is a big one. And that's the type of thing that I'm often looking at with these books, is I'm looking for what I refer to as limiting flaws. This one is fully attached, all that. That's one of the first things I always check, because that will hold you back quite a bit. If you have either one staple detached, usually the top you're going to get is around a 6. And if you have 2 staples detached, the top you're going to get is a 4. Typically, it's more like a 3. And centerfolds detached, you can actually get some pretty high grades. I've seen up to an 8.5. Typically, the upper end is around a 7. And so you can get some pretty high grades with a detached centerfold, but there are just these other flaws on here that I feel like are really going to hold it back some. But 4 to a 4.5 is still a very respectable grade for that book. All right, next one. This one I disagreed on the grade some. So this one was sold at a 4. I have it as a 3. And the main reason is there is a lot of tape on the spine. The tough part with it is the tape doesn't seem to be doing anything. It's like the person put it there maybe as a preventative, but there's a lot of it and it just isn't really protecting against anything. There's also a little piece out of the back cover. But this is Underworld number 4. And it's just this cover where you've got this dude, you know, slapping this woman on the cover, and then you've got the lady on the bottom saying that that's going to give her a new look. You know, it's just like, it's one of these kind of over-the-top crime type covers. But you can see here, it's a little hard to see in the light, but there's tape. I'll show it, it'll be easier on the back. There's tape all the way down to here. And on the back cover, it's way more obvious. You can see tape all the way from the top down to here, but it's not split. It's not detached. Like you know, when you check the interior, it is actually still attached. It's just that there was this little tear right here at the top that's maybe 3/4 of an inch, something like that. And they put this tape all the way along the spine for that. I don't understand why, but that much tape, I don't think it can get a 4. Also, you know, it's missing that piece out of the top. Now, you can miss pieces like this and get above a 4. My Blue Bolt 105 has a piece out of the back that's similar to that, and it's a 4.5, but the front cover is extremely nice on it. This one, the front cover is okay, but you've got some wear along the top edge, wear along the, you know, the right edge some. I mean, the main general image is nice, but there's so much tape along that spine there that I don't see this book hitting a 4. I think a 3. It's still, you know, decent enough presenting, glossy book, and, you know, great colors and everything, complete. But I don't think this book can get to a 4. So I have this one as a 3.0. Now the last one here is a book that I have tried to pick up a copy of this book for a number of years. And every time I bid on it, I end up getting outbid, and finally, I won this one. Now, so this one was sold as a 4.5. I think it's a 4.0. It's from a run that has a number of great covers in it. This is one of those great covers. Like, there are some that are better than others. This is one of the really good ones. And so what this is Punch Comics number 13. And there are another genre you could collect if you wanted to, would be like giant hands or giant claws on a cover. And this is this giant skeleton hand. And I've always thought this was a cool one. Punch 12 is obviously the big book of the run. Punch 19 is a great cover. Punch 20 is a great cover. What is it? Punch 9. I think that's the one with all the little people like stabbing the artist is a great cover. There are a lot of really solid covers in this run, and I think this is just one of them. And so this one, it presents well, and like I said, they had it as a 4.5. I think it's a 4. It's just, I feel like it has too much spine wear and a little too much wear at the top of the spine to get a 4.5. So, I mean, again, nice cover gloss and all of that. You know, it's complete, but you can see it has pretty substantial spine wear. You know, a lot of color breaks. It is fully attached. I believe it was. Yeah, it is fully attached. You want to be careful with it because you can tell, like, there's a lot of wear around those staples, but they're fully attached. The big thing though is this right here. It used to be either tape or glue might have been there. It's not there anymore, so it will not get restored. But if it had been glue, you'd get like a tear seal, but it's not there anymore. But it's about a 1-inch split, and then there's an additional extension of the tear here. So I would say total, that's at least 1.5 inches of tears, and then you have some other little tears along the edge here. So I would say at least 2 inches of tears plus the wear along the spine. I mean, yeah, it is in general a pretty nice presenting copy, but those tears really will hurt the grade on a book. That's one of the biggest things that's going to hit the grade on your book, and you can kind of see that that tape or glue staining right here. But I think a 4.0 is a pretty reasonable grade estimate for this one. You know, with the spine wear, with that split up there, I honestly wouldn't be shocked if they gave it like a 3.5, but it is a nice presenting copy, and that often counts for something. When you have just a very clean look on the front, on the main image, that can help you out. So, but yeah, so this one, Punch 13, I have it as a 4.0. Cool pre-code horror cover, the giant skeleton hand with the woman falling into the grave, and one that I have, like I said, I have tried to buy this on a number of occasions. I know I've probably bid on maybe 5 or 6 different copies of this book, and I'd never taken one home. Finally, I got a chance to get this one, so I thought that was pretty cool. So those are all the books. Kind of went over a little bit on my thought process on the grading, what my grade estimates were. And if you enjoyed this video, saw some cool stuff, we had some pretty rare books in this one, like that Weird Mysteries and especially the Superworld number 2. If you'd like to see more stuff like that, hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell. I've got more videos over here. If you'd like to see some of my other videos, subscription button is right here. If you'd like to subscribe to the channel, I'd really appreciate it. And I will see you in the next video.